Welcome back, everybody. It's Monday.
We're here again.
This is episode 6 in 10 days. We finally have reached the crescendo.
Did we defeat the Fight Island triple header?
Did we defeat it?
Would you consider us winning via split decision? It was a tough battle, but we edged it out.
No.
No?
I think we got finished.
Oh. First round?
Yeah.
Oh. Hopefully our fans don't think that way.
So welcome back to the podcast. We got a lot to talk about here, don't we, Dominic?
Yeah, I'm still feeling the after effects.
Yeah, we hit a high last night, and I think we're on the come down right now.
Yeah.
So
for those
of you living under a rock, UFC 257 occurred Saturday night, headlined by the rematch between Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor. Dustin Poirier knocking out Conor McGregor in the second round. Who would have saw that coming?
I didn't.
And there's been a lot of talk this past week because we kind of started this trilogy of events with Max Holloway putting on just an amazing performance over a very high-level boxer.
Striking clinic.
So then it's like, okay, Max Holloway might be the best boxer in the UFC.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor's like, well,
LOL.
I beat Max.
Yeah.
I'm the best boxer in the UFC.
Dustin
said, I beat Conor and I beat Max twice. I'm the best boxer in the UFC.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to get into here. Obviously, the co-main event also being a huge story. Michael Chandler making his debut.
Made a splash.
And he knocks out Dan Hooker 2.5 minutes into the first round. There's just a lot. And no news for this week, or for this episode, I should say. We did so many previews and post-fight recaps that I think all the news just kind of got taken by other episodes. Yeah. We did get official announcements, however, for some cards in March. Stipe Ngannou 2 for the heavyweight belt is officially happening at UFC 260.
Yes.
Yep, 260. Yes. That's at the end of March.
The second pay-per-view that month.
And then I believe the following week, they officially announced the headliner for that fight night as being Jiri Prochazka and Dominic Reyes at light heavyweight. That's a huge fight. I'm very excited about that one. But yeah, we had already talked about those, so we won't go into any more detail on that. However, no news, so I think it's just time to just get into it.
Let's do it.
You ready?
I am ready, actually. Yeah.
Good. Well,
we need to just talk all this through.
Yeah, let's we'll start with the prelims.
We do need one big one especially.
Okay. So prelim shout outs to we had some very familiar names getting some big wins. Shout out Movsar Ivalov. He was one of the biggest favorites on the card, and he was able to niche out a split decision over Nick Lentz, who retired. However, bigger shout out to Nick Lentz. That guy nearly finished the fight in the first round with a rear
guillotine.
That
was tight.
But then obviously Movsar started beating him up in the later rounds.
Yeah, it probably shouldn't have been a split, but that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, just shout out to Nick Lentz, the crafty vet.
Yeah, putting up with the young gun.
Yeah, a very nice performance to go out on if you're going to lose to someone like that. Undefeated fighter in Movsar, and big win for him. But yeah, so shout out to Nick Lentz. Marcin Prachnio, who was on a 3-fight losing streak, getting a unanimous decision win over Khalil Roundtree, who's kind of in that upper echelon at light heavyweight, but he's not quite
right to crack into the 15.
Yeah, he's always hanging around in that area. I personally, I can't say I was paying as close attention to this fight as I did for like the main card, but it seemed to me like Prachnio was getting beat up quite a bit, getting hurt a lot. So I was very surprised that he got the decision here.
Yeah,
and I think that was the sentiment for a lot of people online too.
Mm-hmm.
So that sucks for Roundtree because, again, it's just another fight. It's another loss that's just going to hold him back from really reaching that ceiling that we know that he can.
And he looked really good last night.
Well, he
looked
his
huge.
frame. He looked like he was in better shape than we've seen him in the past. They looked like they were in two different weight classes.
Yeah.
Juliana Pena, I think, is going to be the big takeaway here.
Big comeback win, too.
Big comeback win over Sarah McMahon, getting that rear naked choke late in the third round. However, the bigger story being...
calling out the GOAT, Amanda Nunes.
Said Amanda's been ducking her.
me. And now that part... Listen, I respected the call out because this division, this women's bantamweight, 135 pounds, is in a lull right now. It's bleh.
Yeah.
So this was good. I loved the call out because why not?
Right.
And they haven't fought each other. But the ducking part is where it got a little too much, and Amanda, of course, fired back. But she got Amanda's attention. That's what she wanted. I personally do feel that Juliana could be one win away from challenging for a belt, but there's still we need GDR and Holly. We kind of called for that rematch to happen. Amanda's not defending right now at 135. She's going to fight at 145 against Megan Anderson. So I like Juliana Pena to take on Aspen Ladd.
Nice.
Because I've been big on Ladd for a while. She finally had her first career loss. She's ranked 3rd. I think those two need to fight and kind of determine who's next after Holm and GDR. Try and even line them up for the same time frame kind of thing.
What's unfortunate is that I would rather see someone like Pena or Aspen Ladd get a shot against Amanda. However, Pena just recently lost to GDR. GDR getting the first submission of her career.
Yeah.
While Aspen Ladd's only loss is to GDR.
Correct.
And that was in 15 seconds. So it's hard to put one of those girls above Jermaine, but Jermaine fought for the belt at the end of 2019, and that definitely didn't go her way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I enjoyed. I'm glad she called her out. I'm glad it was something for the bantamweight division.
Yeah.
We just haven't seen a lot of activity. It feels like
that's
it's been
why
stalling.
she had every right to make the call out.
Yeah. Saying Amanda's ducking you.
That part.
However, it got her attention.
Exactly.
Also, shout out to to a veteran, Brad Tavares, who pretty much swept the cards pretty much besides one against Antonio Carlos Jr. That's a guy who's hung around the bottom half, top 15 for a few years. Tavares holding on to his spot in the top 15. Good performance out of him. And the two guys who lost their fights, Arman Saryukin and Matt Frevola, had a pretty decent fight. Saryukin definitely dominated.
Yeah,
and
he's good, man.
Yeah, he's good. But just shout out to Frevola for taking the fight. He was the one that was supposed to fight Azetar, the guy who... Well, actually, that's a news story.
Well, yeah.
Which, hold on. We're going to get into that.
Yeah.
But basically, shout out to him since he lost his opponent, stepping up. But Saryukin just looked like he was that much better. Good prelims, though. I enjoyed him. But the main card was actually...
Incredible. It was a great main card.
Especially if you just finishes.
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Our one decision fight also being very good.
Yeah, true.
So... I think we'll just go ahead and get into it, but I think we do need to talk about the elephant in the room. So one of the fights we previewed was...
This always happens.
Ottman Azetar and Matt Frevola. That was supposed to be the second fight on the main card.
We were looking forward to that, too.
That did not happen.
Yeah.
So here's the story. Apparently Azetar, the night or 2 nights before the fight, him or his team or someone... They cut off their wristbands. Those wristbands they have to wear to basically show they have clearance on Fight Island.
Yeah, these are the ones you get after quarantine that say you're allowed to move about the hotel and stuff.
So they went to I don't even know how to explain it. They basically, there was someone on the outside
of the bubble.
And they went there and gave them the wristbands and they taped them to their wrists.
So that they could get into the bubble.
Yeah. And
that's a no-no.
Yeah, and then apparently there was a bag being brought in. The guy was able to go through the lobby and all this. This is in a bubble where everybody's been tested except for this individual.
Yeah.
He then, what'd he do on the rooftop?
Dana said he scaled across 4 balconies of hotel rooms to get into Ottman's room, I guess.
Yeah. And
it's weird.
It was all caught on camera.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what was in the bag.
And Dana said that the Abu Dhabi
government
has the name of the guy with the bag and who that person was. And then for Ottman, he was cut by the UFC.
He was cut by the UFC, dropped from this fight.
You talk about unfortunate, by the way. Undefeated stud.
If you look at our preview, we talked him up like this guy's going to be a problem at 155. Yeah. He is just nothing short of fantastic in his striking.
And, even Dana said, he's not a bad guy or a bad kid. He just made a bad decision.
Yeah. Which tells me that the door's open. if this kid, I shouldn't call him a kid. He's older than me.
Yeah,
but,
we're saying kid because Dana always says kid.
If this guy, man, if he's able to go back to, I don't know what promotion's next for him. I don't know if someone like Bellator will swoop him up, but if he goes back to like regional fighting, whatever, and he puts on some awesome performances and just shows some growth in his character, some development as a human, then I think he can find his way back.
Yeah.
But man, that's
in a post-pandemic world.
Such a shame, though, potential-wise, for a guy like that.
Looking forward to him fighting, undefeated.
Because no matter what, he won't be back for at least a couple years. And, and at that point, like, you're losing precious time with his potential, with his growth, with his reaching his peak, as a fighter. So it's very unfortunate. That was probably the big story of the week, like, as far as... I mean, it felt like it was, but also, like, I feel like not a ton of people were talking about it. Like, I feel like that should have been a bigger story than it was.
There's so many questions.
Oh, so many. What was in the bag?
Why did
the guy... Yeah, who's the guy? Why was he scaling rooftops or scaling balconies when he had a wristband on that could get him clearance anywhere?
Yeah, it's all weird.
It's very weird.
It's just unfortunate.
Yeah. But they replaced that fight on the main card with Mahmoud Muradov and Andrew Sanchez. We'll talk about that in a second. But we opened our main card. The fight you broke down with Overtime Heroics. Yep. I'm just going to plug him here.
I'm fired. No, I'm just kidding.
Go support Overtime Heroics. Dominic, now a member of the MMA Elite. He is a writer for their staff. And he did a great breakdown of this fight. Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Ribas. Marina Rodriguez shocked the world. Yeah. Getting the TKO with the elbow and punches. Basically knocked her out twice.
Yeah.
54 seconds into the second round.
After being dominated in the first.
And this is going to be my big takeaway here is, like, even though we both picked Ribas, we both said decision, we thought Ribas would just continuously get that fight to the ground. And the first round looked like it was going that way.
Like 3.5 minutes
You
of ground
said the
control.
words of death. At the end of the first round, you go... No, it's almost like we know what we're talking about or something.
Well, okay, but to a point, were still correct in what we were saying.
Yeah.
Except Amanda didn't win.
Yeah, and when you said that, I went, Dom, you shouldn't have said that.
But it showed. The ground was all Amanda, and it was easy. But on the feet, Amanda was there to compete, but Marina, we knew, was going to have the upper hand, and in round 2, knocked the shit out of Amanda.
Yeah, so... as good as I knew Marina was on the feet, I knew that was her advantage here.
This was next level.
As far as her power, I guess I just...
She damn near had a walk-off one punch.
Yeah, I mean...
It was brutal.
The first punch that landed clean, Amanda was wobbly wobbly legs. Looked like she didn't know where she was. Herb Dean looked like he was going to stop it and then pulled out.
He damn near fell on top of him.
Yeah, and then Marina stops, starts celebrating. And Amanda's kind of confused.
Poor Amanda's like wobbling.
And Herb's like, no, you guys aren't done.
And then Amanda's like, oh shit.
And then Marina lands a crazy overhand right that again has her wobbled. I will say Amanda never went down.
That's true.
She was basically dead on her feet.
And then Herb was like, okay, I'm going to actually stop it this time.
It was a fun fight, though. I mean, that first round was all Amanda. And this is going to be my frustration again with Marina Rodriguez. Mm-hmm. You were talking about her draws and her split. Like, she has 2 draws, and she's only fought. This was her 6th UFC fight?
This was her 5th.
Her 5th.
Yeah.
So now she's... What is she?
She's 3-1-2. So I guess that is 6. Yeah. Sorry.
She's 3-1-2 in the UFC. And you don't see a ton of draws, and especially not with that small of a sample size. But you summed it up well. That she always is winning the striking battle, but then she'll have like one round where she gets 10-8 where it gets taken to the ground because her ground game is just very novice level at this point.
Yep.
And that showed here.
Yep.
And that's what's frustrating is, like, as much as I want to just appreciate the knockout win and how awesome it was just to see such a clear cut like knockout win for especially in the women's divisions where you don't see it like that often. And it was over a huge prospect in Ribas who was looking to take that next step and being like a complete star. But that first round, she was completely neutralized on the ground. Amanda didn't do a lot of damage on the ground.
Just controlled it.
Just completely controlled.
All the fun stuff.
So, like, again, Amanda probably should have been more active on the ground, but it was the first round. She's thinking this is the
And in that round, the first minute and a half, was on the feet, and it was like relatively competitive with Marina still edging the advantage. And then once it went to the ground, it was all Amanda. Second round, never got the chance to go to the ground, and
right.
It was all Marina.
It was 54 seconds. So.
She is that good of a Muay Thai striker.
Yeah,
she really is.
And I just didn't realize her punching power. I mean, that girl's got legitimate one-punch power.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first one, like, you could just, even with the fans back. Which shout out to the 2,000 fans in the arena. They
made it sound like there were 15,000.
They made it sound like there was a lot more, but because of that, we lost some of that ability to like hear every punch and all that.
Yeah.
However,
we need the apex.
I will say you could tell how brutal some of those shots were,
yeah.
how powerful Marina's shots were. She is big for that division. I mean, she's 5'6".
Yeah.
She was 3 inches taller than Amanda, but reach advantage was only like 1 inch. So I mean, it's a good win for her. Don't get me wrong, but I still left, while I definitely was surprised and pleasantly surprised by her power, she still is who I thought she was.
And that's why I'm matchmaking her with another wrestler.
Okay. And who's that going to be?
Number 6, Claudia Gadelha.
Claudia Gadelha, nice.
I'm kind of going to start coming into these recaps in 2021 now with like 2 options each. One is my main one, and then one like falling off, backup one. Claudia, I would go next. It's another really good striker, and you need Marina to be tested. You don't just want to give her easy fights because you want her to keep improving. I'm still holding to it that the winner of that fight could very well be challenging for a belt by the end of the year.
Right.
So if she were to get a win over Claudia, that's huge, and again, ranked in front of her. And then another fight potentially that she could get, which is a big jump, and I don't necessarily think that's what they'll do. They could go all the way to number 3, Zhou Yan, who's a really good striker, and just have an amazing stand-up war. That's a bit of a stretch, but that's kind of my low-key second option. I love her and Claudia.
So I think I'm going to do 1. Like, I'm just going 1.
Oh, that's so hard.
I know. I'm actually going to put her up against number 7, Michelle Waterson. Now, I know what you're saying, that it more lends into her abilities as a striker. But Michelle Waterson has shown...
She's really good on the ground.
She has shown a more complete arsenal of weapons. And while Marina is such a technical and powerful striker, and I do think I'd give her the advantage there, Michelle no slouch at all either. I think that could be very fun, and Michelle being that veteran of this division, that could be a win that could really... this win over Amanda did a lot for Marina.
Yeah.
But I think a win over someone like Michelle, who's just more established, more of a veteran... I don't know if she's probably a bigger name, I guess.
Michelle?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A win over her, I think, more legitimizes her title
Michelle's
aspirations.
no joke.
Yeah, and if Michelle wins, then...
She's looking for a fight.
That's back-to-back wins over people like Angela Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can talk about her fighting someone in the top 5 or even... with all these ladies in this top 10, they all reasonably are like 1 fight away.
Yeah.
I truthfully believe that. Because Joanna's number 2... I don't know if Joanna's...
I don't know what she's doing.
I truthfully wouldn't be surprised if we never see her fight again. But then you got Rose, who looks like is going to fight Wei Li. If Rose doesn't, Esparza's
going to get it. Yeah.
But assuming Rose Wei Li happens, you likely do Zionin and Esparza, which is an awesome fight.
Yeah, that is a good
And
fight.
then you got Nina, who's fighting... Mackenzie Dern. And then you got Claudia Gadelha, Michelle Waterson, Marina Rodriguez, those 3. Then Tisha Torres right there. Then Amanda.
Yep.
And on the flip end...
The division's stacked. That's the most stacked women's division.
Yeah. On the flip end, I'm matching Amanda Ribas with Angela Hill.
Yeah.
And this is because Angela Hill doesn't necessarily have the punching power. She's not necessarily going to knock you out with 1 punch. But she's
good.
Very pressure fighter. And I think Amanda would truly be tested by that. Mm-hmm. While on the flip end... Amanda is very lethal when it comes to taking that fight to the ground with her jiu-jitsu. And for Angela...
And it still would be a big win for both.
Yeah, and it's a big fight. Angela Hill's really, despite her record being kind of a...
She's in wars and so many close fights.
Yeah, she arguably won that fight with Waterson.
And the one with Claudia was really bad.
Yeah, that one was even worse. So... She could have been in our Fighter of the Year talk for 2020 if she had gotten just one of those to go the other way. But I think that's still a big fight for Amanda and for Angela, and the winner of that solidifies themselves in that top 10.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there with her and Angela. One other one that's just kind of like a low-key, probably won't happen now, But for those of you that don't know, this last night was originally supposed to be Amanda versus Watterson. Mm-hmm. So I think you could still make that fight. Yeah. Now, I know that Michelle's technically ahead of Marina, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if they flip-flop Marina after her win, to be honest. Yeah. And again, the rankings only go so far. We like to talk about rankings a lot just because we like the numbering system, you know. So that's kind of another low-key one just because it was already supposed to happen, and I think that's a really good fight, and it's another really good striker to test Amanda, and you have a really well-rounded, just as a whole, Michelle is. So if it goes to the ground, it's not like guaranteed dominance for Amanda. Mm-hmm. So that's my second option, but I do like her taking one step back. I say that in quotes because Angela Hill's still a huge test. And again, she's only 26, so I'm by no means saying her hype train was derailed.
No.
And then the way that she handled the loss, and it's just, she's only 26 years old. She'll be back. It was just a stepping stone that she wasn't able to hop over yet.
Yeah,
and for Marina,
the only part of that preview that I feel that I overlooked was Marina's punching power. But I feel besides that,
she had never showed the power like that. I mean, she's been convincingly dominant on the feet, but never.
Well, even in that first round, I didn't see a power difference.
That one shot just landed so clean. It was just the perfect shot.
And then once Amanda was opened up, basically, because she was on wobbly legs, wasn't seeing straight.
She pounced.
Those strikes were just landing so much cleaner.
Yeah, that's the better way to put it.
Yeah. Following that, we had the fight that replaced Ottman and Frivola.
Yeah.
It was Mahmoud Muradov getting the TKO with a flying knee and punches win over Andrew Sanchez, 2 minutes 59 seconds of the third round. This was a fun fight.
It was.
I didn't really do a ton of homework for this fight because it kind of got put here last second.
Yeah, we didn't get to break this one down.
But I was very impressed with both guys, actually.
It was a good fight, back and forth.
Like, I just enjoyed it. I thought both guys had their moments. Mahmoud definitely looked to be more technical.
He was landing the more shots and the more significant shots. But Sanchez was never out of it until, obviously, the finishing blows. Yeah,
that finishing sequence, though.
Had him doing the stanky leg.
Yeah, stanky leg alert, as I say. Yeah. Sanchez was on... And, like, not only that, but it looked like the left side of his body, like, was giving out.
Yeah, he, like,
that was kind of a scary... Man, it's just sometimes the way people's bodies react when they get rocked.
It looked like he tore his damn ACL.
Well, when he did when he like started doing the stanky leg, I think he did fuck up his knee.
It tweaked bad.
But a big win for Mahmoud here, and I'm curious what your thoughts of this fight were.
Really can't put any more into it. Again, we didn't get to break this down, but what we saw was very good striking from both. And I mean, look at the win streak there that Muradov's on. How many is that in a row? Holy shit balls.
He is on a looks like a 14 fight
win streak. So this guy is a really good prospect. Where is he from? He's from a smaller, like lesser known country, fighting out of.
Well, I think it's the Czech Republic is where he lives, but
okay.
Yeah,
he had one of the different flags.
He's fighting over Uzbekistan.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I was just reading.
You're good. You're good.
Okay, he lives in the Czech Republic. No, he's fighting
because
out of
they
Uzbekistan.
have like that turquoise and light green flag, and he is a very good prospect. And again, it shows the globalization of the UFC and just the sport as a whole. Sanchez, no slouch, by the way, former Ultimate Fighter winner. So that was a very big win there from Muradov. How many fights does he have in the UFC now?
So he's fought 3 times in the UFC.
Okay.
25-6 overall, 17 wins via knockout.
Yeah.
In the UFC, his very first fight was against Alessio De Chirico.
Wow.
Who we just saw finish Joaquin Buckley. He got a unanimous decision win there. Followed that up with a knockout over Trevor Smith in the third round, 4 minutes in. Performance of the night bonus there. And then obviously this win over Andrew Sanchez also got him a performance of the night bonus.
Something about the third round for Muradov, huh?
Mahmoud is definitely enjoying them 50K
50
bonus.
G's, baby.
And on the flip end here for Andrew Sanchez, he was definitely the guy I knew probably. I felt like I was more familiar with his name. Mm-hmm. He's lost to guys like Marvin Vettori, Anthony Smith. So he's definitely been around the block, I guess you could say. He's even got a win over Marcus Perez and Khalil Roundtree. He's been kind of a 500 guy, and that kind of stayed true here. His UFC record now is 5-4. Definitely a guy that I think can still make some noise.
Yeah.
He's still very competitive, and it's obvious that the UFC at least likes him somewhat because they do give him bigger opponents. I mean,
and they did bump this one to the main card.
Yeah.
They have their choice to pick fights, and they chose to put this one on the main card. So it was a good platform for both guys, and Muradov took advantage of it.
And be on the lookout for Muradov. I mean, we obviously weren't able to break down this fight, but just off of what we just told you guys, about 25-6. He's only 30 years old, 17 wins via knockout. He's looked really good in the UFC.
Yeah.
Got some credible wins now with Sanchez and then even De Chirico before that.
It's safe to say we didn't get to break him down this time. We will be in the future.
Be on the lookout for him. We followed that up with women's flyweight this time.
How about the low-key banger this was?
Out of all the fights we broke down, and obviously only one of those got scrapped, but this was the fight I would have given the least chance of being like a fight of the night. And it was very close to taking that in my opinion. Joanne Calderwood getting a unanimous decision win over Jessica Ai. 30-27 on two judges' scorecards, and then 29-28 on the third. For 2 rounds, this was a banger.
Yeah, it was.
These women just kind of went after it. They were clinching a lot, but they were throwing some
big shots.
Body shots in the clinch.
Brutal, weren't they?
Calderwood was doing a lot of leg kicks to the body. Or, excuse me, she's doing a lot of body kicks. While Jessica Ai definitely was the one trying to initiate that clinch.
Dirty boxing. The uppercuts were nice.
Yeah, a lot of good uppercuts.
We were struggling on who was winning the rounds.
I ended up scoring it for Calderwood, but I did have it 29-28.
Yeah.
Yet, I think I scored the first round for Jessica Ai.
And it's weird because when the final numbers came out, it was significant advantage for Calderwood outside of the clinch control time.
Yeah.
Jessica had about 4 minutes of clinch control time, but the strikes, she almost doubled her in the distance strikes. And then even the other statistic they showed was also Calderwood by a significant margin. So it was a hard fight to score and just such a good fight. They really put on a way better performance than what I expected out of these two.
Yeah. And I think the clear, I guess, when you were watching, Calderwood definitely was her striking definitely looked cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Jessica Ai trying to get the clinch due to dirty boxing. It was a lot of those distance strikes weren't landing for her. I think Joanne's body work was definitely playing a factor here too. Jessica
they got tired in the third.
Yeah, and by the way, weird note here that JoJo looked like she was gassing at the end of the first round. It
was kind of weird.
But then she didn't seem... The rest of the fight, she seemed pretty fresh. So I don't know what was going on there. I don't know if maybe she got hit with a good shot and lost her breath or something. Who knows? But overall, this was, for the first 2 rounds, it was great. Third round, both women pretty tired. It was a much slower round.
A lot of very clinch heavy there.
Jessica Ai was the stronger fighter. That led into that clinch control. She was definitely...
She did look physically.
Yeah, she looked
the best I've seen.
I was surprised about because going into this fight, I talked about this on Friday. The gallbladder surgery, I thought that might have had her severely compromised. Yeah. Really didn't. I mean, I know she lost and she lost decisively, but it was still a pretty close fight in my eyes.
Oh yeah.
Strikes. Look, I don't. People put a lot of emphasis on the strike totals. I don't. Is that
if you land less strikes but land the more significant,
it's about damage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And while still Calderwood clearly was landing harder shots, especially in that second and third round, that first round I thought it was very even in the strikes as far as damage. But I was able to basically force her will on Calderwood as far as putting her up against the cage, holding her up there, able to land some of that dirty boxing against the fence. That's why I gave Ai the first round, and then I gave Calderwood the second and third. But then when they were showing people's tweets starting the second round, everybody was scoring it for Calderwood. So kind of gave me a newfound respect for some of these judges that we've shit on in the past.
That would have been a tough fight.
Because, a fight like that, I mean, good thing that Calderwood did get the win because I don't think I could see someone giving it to Ai. But still very close, though, for most of it.
They put on.
What's next for JoJo?
I like her and Cynthia Calvillo. I'm actually only going to get one for this one. I think Cynthia's next. Cynthia has made her flyweight debut. Obviously, beat Jessica Ai in her debut. That was a main event, but then lost to Chukagian, so she's sitting right there at number 5. JoJo's number 7. I think that's the fight to make. And then if she were to be able to beat Cynthia, I think she honestly works her way to a title shot simply because she chose to pass up a title shot. She didn't want to wait for Valentina.
Yeah.
Took a risk against Jennifer Maia and lost. So you have to take that into account and respect that decision by her. So I think you give her Calvillo, and if she wins, gets a title shot. And then for Jessica I think she takes a little breather because we got a really big fight coming up in February between Macy Barber and Alexa Grasso. I think she fights the winner of that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I don't dislike that at all. For Joanne, I'm going with Lauren Murphy in a title eliminator.
Yeah.
She lost, Joanne, that is, had lost to Jennifer Maia. That was a title eliminator. JoJo basically gave up her title shot and risked it for that fight. So I think this win here was good enough to where you could reinsert her there, especially in this division that's needing contenders. It's obvious Valentina's going to fight Andrade.
Yeah.
Lauren Murphy is very adamant about wanting a title shot, but I don't think that she's necessarily on like a Max Holloway level where she can just wait for the title fight to happen and then be next. So I think I think it's a big fight, her and Joanne Calderwood.
They haven't fought.
No. And I mean, obviously, JoJo's 7th now, but she's going to flip with Jessica, be 6th. So I think you do 3-6 there. As for Jessica I mean, I wouldn't mind like a Roxanne Modafferi. 2 veterans. Roxanne being more of that power grappler, that grinder. And honestly, that kind of is how Jessica is, but on more of a striking level.
Yeah.
So you got 2 grinders there, and I think it'd be a very clinch-heavy fight.
For sure.
One where you would see if Roxanne's wrestling could win out or if Jessica's striking could. Also, maybe Vivian Arroyo.
It'd be a rematch.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. She's got options. I mean, even if you want to go down further, you could put her with like a Taylor Santos, someone who's surging right now.
She's very good.
That would be a dangerous fight for Jessica, but she's, for all the shit we've kind of given her, or at least I have, for being a lot of the cringy stuff she said.
She's tough as hell.
She's definitely game, and I think that she would totally take a fight like that. So.
And down deep, we always are going to support the Ohio fighters.
Yeah, you got to, right? But
no matter what amount of cringe, I mean, we got some cringe on here sometimes, so
yeah,
we respect.
We understand. Yeah. Game recognized game.
Yeah.
Now on to our co-main event.
Intermission.
Well, here's where we get into a lot to talk about because our top 2 fights here were at lightweight. And a lot was answered here. 2
unexpected results for me.
Let's start.
Although I got both winners right.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's start with just the fight itself. This fight, Michael Chandler making his UFC debut, spending years at Bellator, was a 3-time champion of their lightweight division. Finally gets the chance to come over here and try to prove that he's one of the best lightweights in the world. And boy, did he TKO'ing Dan Hooker 2.5 minutes into the first round.
Dan Hooker did nothing. Chael Sonnen did a really good breakdown of this fight last night. I enjoyed Chael P. Sonnen's channel. But, he really said it best where that threat of Chandler's takedown really that was it. That played the biggest factor. Hooker, had to constantly worry about the level changes, constantly was circling the cage. And then finally on one level change, gosh, did Chandler set this up good.
Yeah, he did.
Level changed low, right hand to the body. Hooker drops his right arm, leaves his chin wide open. Chandler brings the left hook, and oh my goodness gracious, just dropped him.
And then, honestly, what was even more brutal,
the ground and pound. Ooh.
That follow-up just throws a right shot across the face.
Chandler was on his knees, and Hooker was like bent over in his lap, and Chandler was just going boom, 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 boom. Oh, it was tough.
Yeah, probably the best debut for a UFC fighter we've seen since
Gaethje.
Anderson Silva.
Oh.
Anderson Silva over Chris Levin.
Yeah, that's a hell of a
debut. Gaethje was
in a war.
Yeah, with Michael Johnson.
In terms of cleanness.
I would say that's why I'm saying the best debut we've seen probably since Anderson Silva.
Yeah, so, and now, fun fact, former Bellator champions in their UFC debut are now 6-3. So, not too shabby there.
No, they really aren't. And he was given a tough fight here. I mean, I really thought Dan Hooker's style was presenting a lot more problems for Chandler than maybe even some guys ahead. However, Chandler passed with flying colors.
His pressure. Man.
Well, when the fight started and I saw Chandler was in that grappling stance, he was hanging low.
We were waiting on the takedown.
I was a little nervous. I picked Chandler to win via decision, and I believe you did too.
Yeah, I did too.
But when I saw his stance, I was like, Hooker's gonna land some crazy knee when Chandler shoots in, especially with how aggressive he was being.
Mm-hmm.
But Hooker just kind of was like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
I think he was maybe caught off guard by not only Hooker knew the threat of the takedown was there.
Yeah.
I think what caught Hooker off guard was the speed and power of Chandler's strikes.
For sure.
It caught me off guard.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know what a hell of an athlete he is. He might be the best pound-for-pound athlete in the UFC.
You could tell how athletic he was.
But
not counting the back
just seeing the speed of his punches, that definitely took me off guard a little bit. And I think Dan just was kind of like a deer in headlights, had no idea really how to respond, and was more so just... He was basically watching. He was going off of Chandler's moves rather than trying to set up his own.
Yeah, he never
shots.
was able to get any offense.
He was basically playing defense.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out for him. And
It's
that's
man.
honestly, we've never seen Hooker be finished like that.
Yeah, that sucked.
The Barboza fight was like a long 3 rounds of Barboza landing brutal body work, but Hooker never.
Look at the shots
never
he was
got
taking
knocked
from Poirier
out. Yeah,
last
and then
year.
Poirier and him had that war for 5
again,
rounds.
maybe the chin finally wanted to give way after that war, but
when Chandler landed that first clean shot he landed, it was...
That was like really the first shot of the fight.
I mean, he threw some...
Chandler
threw some shots, and Hooker threw a couple leg kicks, but yeah, I mean...
in terms of like
Chandler was basically just forcing Hooker up against the cage, and you could just tell that these two guys were just in different headspaces at that point.
He could not have lined up and timed that freaking left hook any better. It was perfect.
So, when it comes to matchmaking these two, I think Michael Chandler thinks the easy one for me here. There's been some talk, even Michael was talking about this a little bit about possibly a title shot. I'm not there.
I'm saying pump the brakes.
Not there yet. I think you need one more. Fight Justin Gaethje.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Let's do 5 rounds.
Yeah, that we talked about that on the car ride home last night.
Give him Justin Gaethje. Those are 2 guys that I think that would be a war.
And I'd love to see how the wrestling would play a factor in that fight.
Exactly.
I really do.
That would totally be a factor in that fight. And yeah, that definitely would set up whoever wins that fight would be next.
Right.
We have a title fight in mind.
Yeah,
but
Chandler would not need another one. If he goes in and can beat Gaethje, he would be next. But right now, because again, he did come in and beat number 6.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, are you going to give number 6 a title shot?
Right.
There's a lot of guys in this freaking top 3, and we're going to get into it more in the next fight. But yeah, Gaethje's the option. That is the only thing I think they need to do for Chandler. And I mean, if you don't like the sound of that fight, holy shit. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about Hooker, though. We didn't talk about this last night.
Okay, so Dan Hooker, right? He was number 6 coming into this fight. Before this fight, he had lost to Poirier. Before that, he had beat Paul Felder in a very close fight. Truthfully, even though this might, ranking-wise, might not make the most sense, I think you do Dan Hooker, Tony Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
Both guys on 2 fight losing streaks.
Mm-hmm.
Both guys still in that upper echelon of lightweight.
That fight would be interesting.
And I think that would be very interesting. I mean, I think Hooker's length and his just his striking would present a problem for Tony. But Tony is such a buzzsaw that all he has to do is grab one of those long legs.
Yeah, and do that fucking
the Amari roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that's a beautiful fight. I think that would be a war as well. That's the fight I would make. There's other options. You could do a rematch with Paul Felder. You could do RDA.
That was my other one.
Oh, okay.
I would do... Tony is option 1, but if you had to fall back, because they might have different plans for Tony. We can talk about that again in a second. RDA's looking for another one to crack into that top 5. And he looked good in that Felder fight. Granted, Paul took that on 5 days' notice. You can't take away from how good he looked. So if RDA were to be able to beat Hooker as well, he's right there again. So that would be a really fun one. But yeah, Hooker Ferguson, ooh, that's That's a very just intriguing freaking fight, man. And that sucked for Hooker. I hope he gets a good layoff. The poor guy has to quarantine and can't even be home again for like another month.
Yeah.
Because of New Zealand's protocols for COVID and stuff. So, damn, I couldn't imagine losing like that and then having to just sit in a hotel. Yeah. That's brutal. So, all the best to Dan Hooker, man. And for Michael Chandler, welcome to the UFC.
Yeah, and a lot of people were starting to sour on him, because it seemed like the UFC was protecting him quite a bit since his signing. We never quite fell into that. But, the frustration was growing when is this guy going to fight? What do you mean? Like, the excuse being, well, he cut weight to be the replacement for Habib Gaethje. And even the fact that he was put in that position soured some people. However, I think he won a lot of people over last night, not only with his performance, but the way he spoke after the fight. And we knew that. We've heard him speak before. We know how well-spoken he is.
He really is. He did a damn good job at the post-fight presser. I'm telling you what, he'll be on commentary one day.
Yeah, he carries himself very much like a champion.
He is very good, yeah.
Now, the main event.
I don't get left speechless often. Okay, go ahead.
Dustin Poirier avenges his loss 6 years ago.
The Diamond!
With a TKO win over Conor McGregor. 2 minutes, 32 seconds of the second round. Now, Dom, you called your shot here. You predicted Dustin Poirier to win, but you predicted a decision. So I want to hear your thoughts as you've processed them. You were very excited last night, but I'm curious what your thoughts are now.
So I don't doubt Dustin's power and his boxing at all. I think he can finish anyone in this division. It was more so I never would have thought I'd see the day Conor got KO'd.
Yeah.
They called it a TKO, but at one point he was essentially unconscious.
He was out.
Yeah, he was out. That second right hook hand that landed when Conor was down, that was pretty brutal. So that's what shocked me more. Because I literally jumped up. Like, listen, I'm not saying I wanted to see Conor, lose, but I wanted Dustin to win this fight.
Right.
And it's no slouch to Conor.
You're just that big of a Dustin fan.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think everybody is after last night. And it was just to see Conor get bested on the feet was just unbelievable. Now I'm going to say it wasn't all perfect for Dustin. Round one was very fun. Are we both ruling this fight of the night on the main card?
Yeah, I said this was my fight of the night on the main card. I mean, shout out to Mahmoud Muradov and Andrew Sanchez, and Calderwood I thought those two made it close, but Poirier McGregor, just because it was pretty back and forth.
Yeah, the first round was... So, Dustin comes out and wrestles and gets a takedown in the opening minute.
Yeah, I don't know if I would quite, Yeah, he got the takedown, but it was... he
didn't do anything with it.
But I wouldn't go as far to say, I guess you're not really saying anything besides he just got the takedown. I wouldn't quite say, I think his game plan was still to stay on the feet.
Oh, honestly. It was. We broke this down perfectly on the drive home. He came out and within a minute put Conor on his ass. And for the next 4 rounds, that was going to be in Conor's head. The threat of the takedown was there, just like that.
Yeah.
Right off the rip. And out goes the 60-second prediction by Mystic Mac. I'm sure that hurts a little if you're Conor in the back of your head. So then they get back into the feet. A lot of clinch work. That was fun. Didn't expect a lot of that to happen.
Those
the shoulder strikes that Conor did so
Conor
well.
landed some freaking nasty ones.
He's good at that.
Yeah, he really is.
He puts his whole body, he'll go down and boom, right to the nose.
You could tell Dustin was not wanting a lot of those.
So then Dustin's trying to shimmy some back. Conor definitely landed the better ones. They're talking to each other. Really good. Then they eventually get back to the, distant striking. Conor controlled the octagon and had Dustin on the fence the whole time. I'm like, man, Dustin, you got to get your ass away from the fence.
Yeah.
You got to get your ass away from the fence. Conor even stunned Dustin pretty good one time. No knockdown or no wobbly legs, but a good flash shot.
There was definitely about 2 or 3 very clean strikes from McGregor here. I can't quite say Poirier matched that in the first round.
No, yeah, and I think that's what we gave.
I gave Conor round 1.
Yeah, I agree.
And it was very close.
Yeah.
Dustin having that takedown, he did do some nice clinch work.
Yeah,
but I thought striking wise, which again going off the damage here,
the few significant shots that did land, most went to Conor.
Yeah, it just looked it And honestly, to me, I was like, okay, it looks clear right now that Conor's boxing is just cleaner than Dustin's.
And then something happens.
Yeah.
The last minute-ish of the first round, these calf kicks start getting landed by Dustin to Conor. And we're like, ooh.
And we start, and we literally, I think, I don't know if I asked a question, I went, now that you think about it, when has a fighter ever attacked Conor with leg kicks?
Never.
He fought guys like Khabib, who's a wrestler. Then he fought Diaz, Diaz is a guy who never really throws leg kicks. Conor was leg kicking him.
Yeah, that was part of his game plan.
Chad Mendez, also a wrestler. Jose Aldo, there wasn't any time. Jose Aldo was a nasty leg kicker, but 13 seconds in, you're slept.
He watched that last night and was like, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. Because now that really raises that question, if that fight could have been longer. But then before Mendez, I mean, Max Holloway got, Poirier the first time.
Yeah.
None of these guys attacked the leg.
What a beautiful game.
And honestly.
Shout out to Mike Brown.
Shout out Mike Brown.
Yeah.
Shout out to Poirier. Perfect game plan, I thought. I'm not saying that it was executed perfectly in the first round. He might have been some things he could have done better, but that's all. At that point, you're just, looking for negatives. It was a beautiful performance. Those leg kicks start landing, and they immediately start having an impact. And it's almost like too obvious. Conor always puts so much weight on that lead leg.
I was just about to dig into it. Yeah, I mean, the way Conor's stance... So this was southpaw, by the way. So Dustin's power leg for leg kicks was going to land on Conor's lead leg of his stance. That's how the stance is matched up. Southpaw. And he picked it apart. I mean, it started turning red. And that last minute, it really started to play a factor. But round one ends.
Yeah. So second round comes. And it starts pretty much the same as the first, I thought. Probably, I didn't see as much McGregor landing cleanly. It was still pretty much...
He was just controlling the octagon.
Yeah.
Was being the aggressor.
He was, but it looked like Dustin was more comfortable in the second round immediately.
And from the beginning, he was kicking.
And I will say, I noticed that his movement was already much better, while those leg kicks, you could tell Conor's movement wasn't quite...
I'll tell you what, in round two, Dustin's head movement was...
Yeah. He was moving around a lot more.
He was dodging
to me,
shots.
He was definitely flowing a lot more. He got more comfortable.
Yeah.
And then, when McGregor is... with his striking defense, it's requiring a lot of movement on his part. He's kind of landing those clean boxing strikes.
He lands, gets out.
And gets out. So when those calf kicks started, basically his leg got neutralized completely.
Can't move quick.
You can't move away from those shots. And then Dustin, it didn't take that many.
No, it did not take many.
Because it kind of happened out of nowhere.
At one point, Conor's leg basically buckled.
I think, and I would need to go back and watch, but from how I remember it, basically the first 2 minutes of this round were very even, and it just looked like Poirier was more comfortable, had better movement.
He hardly got hit in the second round, really.
And then, out of nowhere, that last 30 seconds happens.
Yeah, so Dustin lands one more really solid leg kick, and then he evades out to go center the octagon, and now Conor's back would have been toward the fence. And at that point, as Conor's turning to come back to face Dustin, his leg kind of
gives
a little something happened. So then all of a sudden, Conor's back is on the fence, and Dustin just goes in for a kill. Like, it was like he just smelled blood in the water. Because Conor was not hurt. He was just, they had switched, and you noticed the leg buckle, but he hadn't gotten hit bad on the chin or anything. But then Dustin just fucking rushes at him, and he was landing shot after shot after shot. And all of a sudden, we're like, wait a second. And it all happened so fast. All of a sudden, Conor's getting backed up to the fence. Dustin's landing beautiful. The right hook that he has is so nasty, especially for being a southpaw fighter. Having a strong right hook like that. Finally lands the one. And Conor just falls. And then, oh damn.
And he was out.
Dustin comes in. Conor's sitting on the fence. Lands one right hook right to the freaking chin. Conor went to sleep.
I stand by that was a knockout.
Conor went to sleep. Yeah, that should have been a knockout. Dustin said the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, that was a knockout finish if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
And he did it to a guy who we've never seen be
had never even been knocked down.
A guy who's went to war with Diaz and all these guys, and,
Conor had never been close to what we saw last night. Like, it was
Floyd
weird.
Mayweather didn't put him on his ass.
Yeah, he was standing when that happened, when they called that.
Unbelievable. I definitely did not see it coming.
I mean, was in shock.
And I'll own up to it. I said out of the winners I picked on this card, I said I was most confident in Conor McGregor. And that was mostly just because I truly thought Conor McGregor's boxing was just another level to Dustin, but the results speak for themselves. I know Dustin has lost to Conor before, but Dustin has 2 wins over Max Holloway, and now he's got this win here over Conor McGregor. The jury's out right now.
Yeah, and I mean, don't even count about the other amazing strikers that he's beaten.
Of course.
But if we're talking the boxers, Max and Conor were making the stake to make number 1 in the UFC, and he just did that. Unbelievable! What a great performance! I was genuinely just in shock. I would have never thought we'd see the day where Conor gets KO'd. Never would have thought.
It definitely seemed like, especially in this fight, it felt like Poirier's style was going to be more to Conor's benefit. Like, it was like, in my eyes, I was like, okay, this is a boxing heavy fighter. He does have wrestling capabilities, but he doesn't tend to use them. And I was like, okay, but I was like, his boxing's not better than Conor. So, however, that's not how the fight played out. Dustin, the game plan of attacking that leg, slowing his movement to where he couldn't get out of dodge of those strikes as fast. Perfect, and it worked out. I mean, it would have been one thing if it just would have worked out to a point where he was landing cleanly for the rest of the fight and maybe wins the decision.
Yeah.
But to finish McGregor,
that was a statement.
And all respect to Conor and the Dustin for the way they handled themselves post-fight.
Handled the win, handled the loss.
I sensed a bit of bitterness in Conor on one thing. He's been kind of PO'd at times with the UFC over the past year due to the fact that he couldn't get certain fights. And the question's been raised, are the UFC halting McGregor from fighting because they can't really sell it to an audience? You can only buy the pay-per-view, you can't watch the fight in person, you can't get that live gate money from a McGregor fight. That's been a question raised by like Ariel Helwani and stuff, like, are they wasting Conor's like prime,
Yeah.
And I sensed a bit of bitterness in that when he said that inactivity.
And I think that was toward the UFC. Like,
I think it was a little bit.
Let me fight.
However, when it came to Dustin, Conor themselves, it was very respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very surprised that both guys seemed. I mean, I'm not surprised on Conor's end, but on Dustin's end, he was very much like, yeah, we'll do it again.
Yeah. It definitely could line up as a big trilogy down the road.
I think that's where we're going to get into kind of what's next for these guys. Dana's post-fight presser, Dustin's and Conor's, it seems like there's some rumblings of potentially this fight being ran back immediately.
That I don't want nor need.
I don't want that because they even asked Dana, like, if Khabib's truly done, which we'll talk more about that. And the fight, and the belt was vacated. Do you see these two guys fighting for the belt? And he said, I do. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. They're 1-1 now.
Well, that was about him and Chandler.
I don't think it. I thought it was him and McGregor.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But either way, they did talk about the trilogy as well.
Yeah. However, there's really a lot to. Let's digest, I guess.
Look, do you want to start with Conor first?
Yeah, that's probably the easier.
Well, and we're going to be short-winded on Conor because of Wednesday.
Yeah. So what's next for Conor is the Nate Diaz trilogy. That's what it is.
If there's ever a time to do it,
if there's a fight that Dana says the fans are going to love, that's going to be big for Nate, this is the one.
Yeah.
You can't. You lost your opportunity to do a Khabib rematch. This is your biggest fight you can make for Conor McGregor at this point. And I think it's even though him and Nate, it's not, the stakes aren't as high, I guess, compared to a trilogy with McGregor Poirier based off like rankings and whatnot. I still think a McGregor Diaz fight trilogy sells better than McGregor Poirier.
Oh yeah, you know what's crazy? That second fight, well, both fights, but that was in 2016.
Right.
It's been almost 5 years.
We had just started college.
Isn't that crazy? It seems like yesterday.
Yeah.
We need this trilogy. We've needed it for years, and now is the perfect time to do it. And if they do it at lightweight, it's both guys' best weight class.
Yep.
That's why it needs to happen next. 1,000,000%.
So I'm completely on that train at this point.
Yeah.
Possibly, if you want to throw out another one, Tony Ferguson would be another option for Conor.
That was the low key.
That was the one that you kind of threw out there. I like it. I'm not opposed to it. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, a little tiny storyline there, but nothing like a Conor Nate would be.
Yeah. For Dustin, I think he needs to be fighting for a belt.
Dustin will have a belt in his next fight. But
Habib,
it's a matter of who.
And it's obvious Habib's not going to fight.
Habib's
again.
done.
He's done.
For now, anyway.
Because Dana even said at the post-fight presser when he was talking to Habib, like about during the fights or after the fights or whatever, he was texting him or whatever he was doing.
Yeah, what Habib said.
Habib said, Dana, be honest with yourself.
I'm levels above these guys.
Yeah.
What a king.
I mean, look, and that's not to take away from Poirier or McGregor or any of these guys.
Really, the only guy that maybe even tickled his interest a little was Chandler, but he's not going to come back and fight Chandler. So I can't say I wouldn't be opposed to seeing that fight, but it won't happen.
So the belt's going to be vacated. So
Probably soon.
I would say within the next couple weeks, actually.
Yeah.
So to me, the undisputed title is going to be Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira.
Injected into my veins.
That fight needs to happen. Those are the two most deserving guys of that shot. Now, is there a chance Chandler gets thrown in there? Yes. However, Poirier's comments in the post-fight presser,
and I agree.
He said, look, no disrespect to Michael Chandler.
He worded it perfect.
He's like, but how many fights does he have in the UFC?
This was his 25th.
25th. He's like, it took me all these fights. I had to go through all these guys to get even a shot. He's like, he's basically saying that Chandler needs to.
And I just beat Hooker.
Yeah.
And I still didn't get a title shot. I still had to fight Conor.
So he didn't like that Chandler was being talked about being inserted after beating a guy that he's already beat and didn't get that shot.
The thing that does help Chandler's case more is that he did it so easy.
Yeah.
That's
true.
He didn't just come in and win. So that's the biggest thing going for Chandler, but I agreed with everything.
I think that's the only reason we're even considering
because of how he did
Chandler is because of how easily he did it.
Yeah.
But Poirier Oliveira needs to happen.
Oh, man.
Give me Charlie Olives
and
the Diamond all day.
Oh, man.
I need that fight. I think, and I just love.
We talked about that.
And I love that out of all the possibilities that could have been for the next lightweight title fight,
this is perfect.
You get Poirier and Charles Oliveira, two guys who have fought basically 20 plus times in the UFC,
been at the lowest of the low, the highest of the high,
worked their way to the top. That is the matchup that almost is.
It's perfect. It is perfect in every way.
So that's gonna be a banger if that fight materializes. But there's just so many directions that this division can still go. But I still feel like we ultimately did get a lot answered on Saturday.
We came out of this with two very clear-cut fights, and we're not budging on them. And that's saying a lot.
I agree.
And, I'm going to be honest. I've seen a lot of people on MMA Twitter, the journalists and stuff. They're agreeing. They're saying the exact same thing. And that makes me happy because that's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
That's what it needs to be.
Let's go, UFC. Book it.
That's what it has to be. And, I would love to see another lightweight. Gaethje Chandler as a co-main. But not this. No. We need 5 rounds of that.
I think so.
That needs to be a fight night main event.
Give me that in April.
Yeah. Yes, please. Yes, please.
But yeah, that's pretty much all for UFC 257. It was a grand night.
What a freaking phenomenal pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean,
oh my word.
If you like finishes, watch this main card. 4 or 5. I mean, it was a terrific card. Some of the prelims may be a bit slower for some, but then you get to that main card, which is what you're spending your money on, and you get a terrific card with very clear-cut winners. There's no, the biggest controversy was the fact that Marina Rodriguez essentially had to beat Amanda twice.
Marina Rodriguez is 2-0.
But even then, that shouldn't really even be. It wasn't really talked about that much because it's not really much of a controversy. Because refs do that a lot, where they kind of jump in, but don't. Either way, it was a phenomenal card. It was a beautiful way to open up 2021.
Yeah,
and there's clear direction now, and I'm very glad to see that there's clear-cut direction in this division at lightweight. We've been waiting for this clear-cut direction for so long, my God, it feels like we haven't had a full-on, like in our head, like this is the fight that needs to happen.
The skies are beginning to blue a little bit.
It feels so good to have that clarity a little bit.
And yeah, I mean, the first pay-per-view of the year, closing out the third stint on Fight Island. Who knows when we'll see Fight Island again? But damn, I mean, the month of January, what a little run for us, the marathon. Thanks for all you that have been tuning in each and every single episode. We know this was probably like an overload. But we're not going to have this very often.
But you guys have came out and supported in a big way. These episodes were all doing really well.
Yeah.
Very just thankful for the support because I know it's a lot of content and I know it was a lot for us at times to even kind of do it. But at the same time, it never felt like work.
Yeah.
Truly,
we had a blast.
I was just glad that I was a little intimidated by the 6 episodes in 10 days, but it truly always just felt, it felt.
Nothing was forced. Everything flowed well. And, now we're kind of back into a groove, and I'll let you kind of explain what's next.
Yeah, so as for the rest of the week, Wednesday, this one's a little extra special.
Yeah. And this could have went 2 ways.
Yeah, I'm glad that it worked out to where we're doing this episode after the fight.
Yeah.
We have the state of Conor McGregor. And boy, is that going to be fun to... I don't know if it's even going to be fun. It's going to be heavy.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a lot to talk about.
The biggest superstar we've ever seen. The highs, the lows, and everything in between.
And he's at somewhat of a low right now. So.
He's in a very interesting spot. That's why we didn't kind of talk on much of him losing this, because we're going to get on more of it. Even more matchmaking ideas and all that. But, yeah, there's a lot to discuss.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. That's coming Wednesday. There is no card next Saturday, unfortunately, so you will not be getting a Friday preview or a Monday recap. Just to be completely transparent for the following week, after this Wednesday, we won't have an episode till the following Friday. So Friday, February 6th, it's going to be a preview of a huge, and when I say huge, I mean this is honestly a very just good fight night.
Yeah.
So headlined by a big match at heavyweight, Alistair Overeem, Alexander Volkov. Those are two guys who never fought.
Ain't that crazy?
And Overeem kind of, he's continuing that.
It's his one last run.
Last ride.
Yep.
While Volkov is still trying to kind of find himself
this would
in
be
this
big
division.
This would be big.
But
tell him the rest of the damn card.
If you look at some of these other fights, man.
Sheesh.
I mean, let's start with Corey Sandhagen versus Frankie Edgar at bantamweight.
That could be a fucking movie.
Whoever wins that's likely probably fighting next for the belt after Jan Aljo have some business to take care of. You got Beneil Dariush versus Carlos Diego Ferreira at lightweight. That's such a fun fight. Another lightweight bout, Legends fight, Clay Guida, Michael Johnson.
Oh my.
Probably loser leaves the brand. Mike Rodriguez is on this card. Molly McCann, Nico Montano.
Molly Meatball, huh?
Yep.
Nice.
Flyweight bout, Alexandra Pantoja and Manel Cape. Manel Cape making his debut after...
Oh, yeah. That's a big fight. I forgot about that.
He was at 1FC, wasn't he?
Yeah. Champion.
Yeah. And then Cody Stamann versus Andre Ewell. That's also a pretty decent bantamweight fight.
That's a really good fight night, man.
There's so much I could talk about, but... Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good fight night, and I'm very excited
that's Saturday, February 6th. That's an 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern start.
Friday, February 5th.
That's the next episode after Conor. We'll talk about it again Wednesday.
Yeah, so just wanted to put that out there so that everybody's aware.
Our big marathon, we're taking a little... Because once we get to this next preview, it's kind of back to a normal schedule.
Yeah, it's back
we're going to have fights
normal.
every week, or at least every other. So then we get back to the every other Wednesday, and then we got Monday, Friday. So yeah. We're almost back to normal.
Yep.
But damn, it was a fun ride.
It was.
For the triple header.
Until then, Dominic Slee, tell the good people where they can find you on social media.
Find me on Twitter and Instagram at dslee14. Find the podcast on Twitter, on Instagram at BAJ_MMA podcast.
And as for me, if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at ntbaker_, you'll be taken to our link tree, which gives you the links to all the platforms that the podcast is on, along with the social media platforms. That includes Twitter, Instagram, the YouTube channel, along with Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. It's all on there, baby. And there's a couple links for our Anchor page. First, recording a voice message. something we want to hit hard in 2021.
And I've already gotten one.
Yeah, Friday, if you heard Tyler's beautiful voice come on, you also could be featured on an episode. You just got to go to that link and you just record up to 60 seconds. It could be about an upcoming fight, a fight that's already happened, an idea for a video, just a thought about a news story, anything. If you just want to say hi or tell us that we fucking suck, do it there. And there's a link if you want to become a supporter of the podcast. That just provides us with a few dollars a month. All that money goes back into improving the quality of the podcast, whether it be improving the audio equipment or down the line doing a video podcast. So again, you can find all of that if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at ntbaker_. But with that, we're out, and we're going to see y'all on Wednesday.